So for step 43, attaching the gearbox, well, you can see that the gearbox will get attached to the back with 4 of these MC7 screws, and there's 2 MA4s that are going to go into the front parts of that gearbox. So those 2 there, but from underneath, we're going to be using screws for that. So we're bringing back the gearbox that we finished much earlier in the build. We've got our chassis over here ready to go, and we've got our screws ready to go as well. And of course, once that's all done, the last thing we'll need to do is connect the motor cables. So I'll set this up and we'll attach the gearbox to the chassis. So I think what we'll do first is let's attach these 2 with these MA4s. A couple of reasons. One, they're the sort of the outliers. They're 2 of the black coated screws. The rest are the tapping screws. But also, if you can see this, when this attaches to the chassis itself, there's actually an easy way to tell that they're going into the right spot. You can see that this is ridged, which means that when this goes on, it actually fits into there. And I think that will give us a good start, as opposed to trying to turn this all over and try and mess about with the screws that way. Because once these front ones are in, we know that everything else is in the correct position. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to grab my screwdriver here, grab one of the MA4s, make sure that that is sitting correctly, which it seems to be. I'm just going to turn this over, holding it with my hand here, and we'll put a screw down that hole right there. Make sure that goes in. Now, I don't need to screw it down all the way. I just want to make sure that this side is still correctly in the right position. And again, we'll turn that over, because you can see there, just in terms of the way that's supposed to sit in there. So if we know that that is in there correctly, that gives me a chance to get this screw down into there and get that in the hole. So now that those 2 are at least somewhat attached, we can then see how things are fitting on the back side here. And you can see that we've got the 4 screws. So just to make sure that that is sitting there, I'm going to go for the very back first, because we know that we've got 2 screws right here. So we're going to put one in, and again on the other side we'll get the other one in. Now, I'm not going to go all the way, but enough that there's a little bit of play, so that then we've got, you can see the 4 screws that are going to come, or the 2 other screws are going to come up on the other side. So we've got the 2 screws right here, or right here I should say, and right there. So I'll just put those in, and we'll screw that into place. Now, we know that everything is correct at this point, so I'm going to screw it all down now. So we've got these 2 here, and they are tapping screws, so once you get to the end, you'll know it's going into the harder plastic, so it'll be fine. That is definitely in, that is definitely in. We'll go with this one. That is definitely in. and that's definitely in. That's not going to move. So now it's just a matter of tightening the first 2 screws that we put in. And again, they are tapping screws. Don't over tighten, but you'll know when you get to the end. That feels right. And the same again on this side. One last final check on that side. Yes. This side. Yes. So there we go. There is our gearbox now attached to the back end of our chassis. Very, very cool. So the one thing we've got left to do is put the motor cable wires on. So we'll do that now. So remember what I said about the motor wire cable length. You'll notice that it looks like these cables are going straight through and then these wires are there and there's tons of room. Well, you can see with this there isn't tons of room, because even when you push this back, that wire is barely coming through where it's supposed to go. So the ESC, the 1060, it will fit through that same hole. You can see where it's designed to go. And we're going to have to attach it that way. Now, because this is the farthest on this side, like basically it's almost like the farthest away, I'm going to plug that one in first. And you can see that it's yellow to yellow. So we're going to have to plug it in on this side. It'll be easier because there's not a lot of space there. So there we go. There's one. We can pull it through a little bit, but there's not that much play. And then the blue wire, we got to push through there, and we're going to attach it to the green. So again, same sort of idea. I hope to be able to hold it. It's very an awkward position. So I think I'm gonna have to try and hold that there and push. No, not really. I'm getting it in, but it's a tight fit. It looks like it's correct. So those wires are on and ready. So if I just move this around a little bit here, you can see that there is a little bit of play, because obviously we've got body posts, possibly the roll cage bit to screw down. These have to be able to be moved and out of the way a little bit in order to do that. But it looks like it's going to be fine. But like I said, it's a very tight and short lead, so there's not a lot of play here. But it looks like it's going to be fine. So ultimately, it's going to look something like that if you do it as per instructions. So one last thing, if you remember, the way they were showing you installing the receiver switch, if it's not a Tamiya speed controller, is on the damper stay, and you can see the motor's there, so the on-off switch is facing towards the rear. Makes sense. It's going to, you're trying to avoid dirt and debris and water from getting into the switch, so it's facing backwards. So that means that the receiver switch would be sitting on the damper stay like that. That's essentially the positioning that you want. And the funny thing is, I don't know if you can see this, on this side it's completely flat, this side has a lip. Well, that lip is there because if you're using this hobby wing, for example, there's more room to put the double-sided tape, and then the switch can actually sit perfectly aligned with the damper stay, just like that. So this is the first kit that I've seen from Tamiya that actually has designed the back end specifically for the 1060. I'm sure of it because it's the same width as this 1060 receiver switch. So it's definitely designed to fit there. Very, very cool. So we will do that. Now, I'm going to hold off because I want to see how all the other bits and pieces go onto it, so I can determine what the best positioning for the cable is. Because depending on how much wire I need, I don't want this stuck down and then find I need to move it to be able to get some, get the cable out of the way. So I'm not worried about that. So basically, it means that step 43 for now is complete, and we're going to move on to step 44, and we're going to attach the front unit.